I'm going to record. Levels are up. All right, and here we go. On 3, 2, 1. We are speaking with the one and only Steve Whiteman, of course, of the band KIX. And as we say here in Montreal, bonjour, Steve. How are you?
Bonjour. I'm
Yeah.
well, thank you.
When was, by the way, when was the last time that KIX got up to Canada or up to Montreal? It's been a while.
It's been too long. We had a bad experience at the border,
Like a lot of American
like a
bands.
lot of bands. Yeah, I mean, 3 in the morning, we got drug out of the bus and just freezing ass cold, and these cops were assholes, and we thought, and Toronto was the only place we played because it was the only place we were getting any kind of airplay. So we just didn't know if it was worth it to go to Toronto to play a tiny little club and get harassed like that. So, and we've never been invited back anyway.
Well, we'll get you back up here at some point. But let's talk about Midnite Dynamite Re-Lit. So 35 years since the album came out. It is the one that's just before Blow My Fuse, which blew up the band, actually, literally, you know.
Right.
Talk to me about how this one was important in the formation of the band and the movie, because you get to Blow My Fuse and suddenly, whoa, big single, big interest. Talk to me about sort of this one, the before one. What did that do for the band and its confidence?
Midnight Dynamite, we were coming off what we thought was a dud album for our band. The record company and producers and management tried to turn us into a pop band, a radio-friendly band on the album Cool Kids. And we weren't really happy with that record, but we were coerced by everybody to say, hey, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Listen to us if you want to make it in this business. So we did. And we weren't, we come off that record going, this is a limp piece of shit. And we're sorry we had to make this to our fans. Luckily, our fans accepted it because they're good, loyal people. And we knew going into making Midnight Dynamite that we did not want that kind of interference in our music again. And there were some really good songs that were written. We were lucky enough to get Beau Hill involved. Beau was, coming off the success of all the Rat albums. We had good management. We had a good producer. We had a good album. We thought this is the one.
You had a great songwriter, too, in Bob
Yeah,
Halligan Jr.
exactly. Bob Halligan, Kip Winger chipped in with
Yep.
with a tune, and Donnie wrote some great songs for that record. And we thought we had it in the bag. And the record company released Cold Shower, did mildly awful, and that was it. Record company dropped the ball after that record, and we were pissed. We thought, no way in hell are we letting this record die like this. So we were fortunate enough to have been working the East Coast, Boston to Florida. We could play any club and sell it out and make good money. So after the record company gave up, we started playing our asses off on the East Coast. We saved all of our bar money and we started doing our own tour support. We went to Chicago and Cleveland and Detroit, Milwaukee, Texas. Then we go back home, we get another lump of money, then we go out to LA. And it was through our relentless pursuit of getting people to hear this record that we feel set up the Blow My Fuse success. Had we not done that, people still wouldn't have given a shit. And the record label recognized how hard we worked to promote that record on our own. And we even made our own video. We did our video for Midnight Dynamite. So I think they respected our integrity and our hard work, and they finally pushed the magic button on Blow My Fuse.
Yeah, they really did. So let me just quickly bring you to 2020 real quick, and then we'll go back to Midnight Dynamite. But you talk about touring, and you did it by yourself. Now you headline the M3 Festival, and I'm pretty sure every year. Have you missed one? I don't think so.
I think when it first started, it was just one night, and we were on it, but we didn't headline. But and they added the Friday night to the festival, and they called it. It was our show. It was a way to get all of our local fans, and it's the only venue that large that we headline in the country. We don't kid ourselves. It's our fans that allow us to do that, and the promoter knows that, and the fans just love seeing us on that giant stage headlining a show.
So let me just ask you, because I'm friends with Eric Baker, who runs that. How
Uh-huh.
important is that festival to what you do? Just getting you out there and having your name on the same marquees as the White Snakes and the Rats and the other bands that grace those stages.
Yeah, fortunately, we've been able to do a lot of festivals, and since like 2008, we started after we decided to stopped just doing local shows in our little comfort zone. We had an agent come in and talk to us and beg me to give him the opportunity to book this band. And I thought he was out of his mind. I thought there's no way in hell outside of our little Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland area. Nobody gave a shit. And he proved me wrong. He booked us at Rocklahoma. And that's a pretty big deal. So we got in front of 20,000 people and they went apeshit. And we were like, whoa, it opened my eyes and it opened all of our eyes. So each year it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and more shows, more festivals. And M3 is the most special one to us because it's in our backyard. It's our crowd, so it's wonderful. And the other festivals, we're a part of it. We might go on at 5 in the afternoon, and the headliner goes on at 11. So we're the peons, but we're still damn glad to be there.
Yeah, and this one, it's so incredibly well run. And before I get back to the whole history of the band, my co-host on the show is Alan Niven, who, of course, used to manage Guns N' Roses.
Right. I tell that story often about Alan Niven.
Right, and the story, comes up a lot about how something about the record company and you guys, and he said you have to make a video, and yet it seems to be playing broken telephone because it seems to be told a different way almost every time. What's sort of your version of that story and Alan's importance in the band's history?
Alan was a huge part of the success of Blow My Fuse because we were out on the road. We were doing really well on MTV with Cold Blood, and we were out on the road with Great White and Tesla. It was the double header tour, and we were the opening act. And Alan Niven happened to be on at a show one night, and we did Don't Close Your Eyes. And we come off stage, and he stopped us, and he said, "What was that ballad you guys played?" And we told him. He said, "Why is that not a single?" We said, "Ask Doug Morris at Atlantic Records because we have no idea." So he did. He called Doug Morris and said, "You're sitting on a hit single. You got to release this." Next week, we're up in New York shooting a video for Don't Close Your Eyes. And the rest is history. But if it wasn't for Alan, I don't think it ever would have got released.
So let me just ask you this. Why do you think the record company didn't notice? Was it just that KIX wasn't important enough to them and they said, we're not going to spend the money? Did the people just not have the proper ears? Why did they not go, why did it need Alan?
We've been scratching our asses for years about that question. We don't know. We don't know if we did something to piss them off or we never figured out. We just know that we always sold enough records from our base, our base fans, that they always made money. We never made a cent, but they always made money. So why they didn't push that magic button until Blow My Fuse, I don't know. They did. They went big budget videos for Cold Blood and I believe Get It While It's Hot. And then we thought it was done. We were out on the road. We were lucky enough to actually be out with Rat and be out with Great White and Tesla. But until Don't Close Your Eyes, the album was just sitting at gold. And when Don't Close Your Eyes came out, it went to platinum.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think from the Canadian perspective. In order for an American band to get on TV, there had to be some heat behind it because of all the Canadian content rules. I don't think I ever saw the Cold Blood or the other one. I think it really was Blow My Fuse and the ballad that got you into my.
It was Blow My Fuse was the second single. You're right. It was Cold Blood was first, and then Blow My Fuse.
Yeah. So I'll ask you a couple of questions on Blow My Fuse, and then we'll get back to Midnite Dynamite. It is produced in part by Tom Werman, who of course worked with Cheap Trick and all these other guys. When you listen to Dee Snider talk about Stay Hungry, when you listen to Nikki Sixx talk about the Motley Crue stuff, when you listen to Cheap Trick hear about In Color, they all go, Tom, he was the label guy, he was imposed on, and yet their most successful albums are Tom, and I would argue probably that KIX Blow My Fuse is your most successful.
Yeah.
So how do you look at Tom? I mean, yes, he was the label guy, but he made hits, right?
Tom knew how to pick acts that were ready to break open. He knew good music. He was an A&R guy, so he knew good music when he heard it. And when we were shopping for a producer, he listened to our demo and thought that we had something here. Tom is not the most hands-on producer we ever had. I mean, in the studio, he's there, but he's also surrounded by really quality people that he trusts. So they do the bulk of the work, but Tom just has a great ear and knows when something is good. So getting him involved was essential to Blow My Fuse.
Yeah, it really is. And I think he crafts great records. Now, back to Midnite Dynamite, 35 years here. I'm just going to go over to the track listing. You've added some early versions, some early album versions, some demo versions.
Yeah.
Talk to me in terms of what can fans expect from this package. It came out last week. How is it redone? Why, if I'm a fan, do I want to fork out the $20 or whatever to get the new version? Sell it to me for a second.
Good question. The whole concept came because we were in Houston playing a show, and Beau Hill lives in Austin. So Beau decided to come out and see a show and say hi and hang out for a bit. And we were sitting around after the show, and he almost jokingly said, I'd like to remix Midnite Dynamite. And we just kind of all sat back and laughed. And he said, "No, I'm serious." He said, "I think I can beat what I did the first time. Technology's better. The way that we mixed back then, it was muddied up with so much echoes and reverbs and all the effects and everything." He said, "I'd like to have another crack at that." And Mark Shanker got all the material for him, got all the tapes and everything, and put everything to digital and sent it to him. And Beau was off. He just wanted to do it. We didn't know where it was going to go. And Beau was so good. I mean, he's to me, he's the best producer we ever had. I loved working with him on Midnite Dynamite and getting him involved on this one and on Blow My Fuse. He remixed the Reblown. So he was ready to just stay involved. We've been great friends over the years, and I think he just wanted to do something good for the band, thinking it would help us out. And it just sounds incredible. Everything is just so cleaner. My voice is way more out front than it was on the original. Ronnie got to go in and play some solos in a different way that he wasn't really allowed to do on the original recording. Mike Slamer come in and played some stuff that Ronnie and Brian weren't real happy about, but we were running out of time and budget, so we had to get these things done. So Ronnie got to go in and do his thing. Jimmy was out. He had like a bulging disc in his neck, so he missed the last two songs that we were doing, "Lie Like a Rug" and "Sex." So Jimmy got to go into the studio and lay down his drums for what Beau got to mix. So there's some new stuff on there, and to me, it just sounds incredible.
Oh wow! Well, listen. They sent me a copy of it, and it sounds like it's like a punch in the face. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
So you actually had some recut parts, I guess, that were done like in the last year, kind of thing. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So all right. See, that I wasn't aware of. So let me ask you about that then.
Nobody would know that unless I told you.
Right. So let me ask you about that, because there is that school of thought that you don't tinker with an original because it has its mystique and it has its moment and it has its whatever. Were you hesitant at all, or was it like, no, this needs to be fixed? So because now essentially we have two Midnite Dynamites. We have two different albums.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Have you stolen from the Holy Grail, or have you added to it?
Good question. I mean, we tried to add to it. The one thing that Anton Fig played
Right.
on the last two tracks, "I Like a Rug" and "Sex." So that's why Jimmy was so adamant about putting his thing on this re-release, and same with Ronnie. I don't know. It was all Mark Shanker's idea. Mark's turned into the catalyst of the band. He's always thinking of ways to keep the band relevant, thinking of ways to keep the band making money. And he's a much better interview about this than I am, because he really was the pioneer of getting the ball going, getting hold of all the tapes from the record company. And it started with wanting to redo the Blow My Fuse project. So he had access to all of it. He got it all to Beau. Beau was excited to do it. And, everybody seems to be really happy with it.
Yeah, listen, it sounds great. It's all right. I'm going to ask you the obvious question. Anton Fig, of course, David Letterman, but he also played on those two KISS records, Unmasked and Not I Was Made for Loving You, Dynasty, without telling anybody. What did he bring in terms of sound? Now that on the original he's there, did you get to meet him? Was he just a guy that they called and you didn't realize? And because he's a talented mother,
He's a big deal, but this is before Letterman.
Of course.
So I didn't know who he was, and he was friends with Beau Hill, and Beau brought him in, and he was incredible. I mean, he sat and listened to the songs, and he charted everything out. Didn't play it ever, just listened to it, charted everything out, went out and just nailed it in one take. So he's an incredible talent.
and cheap if you can do it in one tape. Beau Hill, his name comes up obviously with the Rat stuff, but when we look back at history, at the history of producers, we often talk about Bob Ezrin and Bob Rock and Tom Werman and all these other guys, and sometimes Beau gets left out unfairly. Yeah. What he did on those Rat records is amazing, especially working with the Rat guys. Talk to me about what he brought to the band. You just described him as the best producer you ever worked with, so why?
Beau was more than just a producer, more than an A&R guy, more than just an idea man. He was a musician. He played instruments. He sang. He wrote songs. So he understood deconstructing a song and putting it back together. He understood why drums should do this and not that. He just had great input, and most of it shows. I mean, if you listen to the demos and then listen to the record, it's hugely different because of Beau's input.
Yeah, I love Beau, and he should be in the conversation with the greats. I mean, he is.
Absolutely.
2014, Rock Your Face Off came out.
Right.
Talk to me about the need to make new music, because you do go out and do the festivals, you do M3 like we discussed, and the fans are there, the fans are happy, they're buying the t-shirts, everybody. But as a creative force, is there a need for you to put stuff out?
Probably only for our diehard fans, not for the whole country. That whole concept came about. We had released a live DVD, KIX in Baltimore, and we were with a record label then that I won't mention because there was a bunch of crap that went down with our relationship with them. But they didn't want to release that or distribute it unless we would promise them a new studio album. So that kind of got the juices flowing, because we at no point thought about doing a studio album. We just wanted to get this video out and live off of what we'd already done, and that just made everybody start thinking. And I had written some stuff, and Mark had written some stuff, and we just started throwing it all into a pile. And Brian, who was really good at picking songs that he felt stayed true to KIX and the KIX fans, and we brought in now I'm gonna forget his name because I'm an idiot. Oh hell!
Who, the drummer?
No, produced it. Taylor Rhodes.
Taylor Rhodes. Yep.
Yeah, Taylor got involved, and he started picking some songs that he thought would be worthy of because he was a co-writer with Donnie and understood the whole concept of KIX songs. So getting him involved really kicked it up a notch, and that just got everybody wanting to say, why not put another record out? And it was liberating for all of us because we were under Donnie's thumb for so long. I mean, Donnie was obviously the main songwriter, and he loved it that way. He didn't really like other people trying to come in and write songs, or unless it was somebody that he co-wrote with. He didn't like any of the band members to write. Whether he didn't think we were any good, or he just didn't want to share it, or he was just an asshole, I'll never know. But being able to do that record and have all five of us sit in a room with the producer and contribute all at the same time, it just felt like this is what it should have been like, all those years in KIX, but it never was.
It never was. Okay, so let me ask you that, because you made a comment about Donnie there. In terms of him writing everything, when you're singing the songs, you want the words to have a meaning to you. You want to connect with them. It enhances the performance. Was it strange for you then to be singing somebody else's song and somebody else's words? I mean, do you lose some of that authenticity?
No, I don't think so, because I grew up in cover bands, and doing all those other bands' music for so many years. I still felt a part of that music, even though I wasn't able to write it. It was still my voice. It was still my touch on it, my presentation of it. So I still felt there was a closeness to it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go over here then to Funny Money. You and I have had a chance to say hello at M3 and stuff, but we haven't done an interview since the Funny Money days. We're going back 15, 16, 17 years since we actually did a phoner.
Right.
Talk to me about that band. Was it just to have a project to go play locally and just sort of get out and keep your chops going? Or did you really want to step away from KIX and go, I'm done with this band, I'm going to go do my own thing? What was sort of the Funny Money raison d'être, as we say, the reason for it to be.
All of what you just said is all part of the reason. But the other thing is, because I was never really able to write songs in KIX or being taken seriously as a songwriter, being able to write all my own songs and put a band around them and go out and perform it, I never kid myself. I knew it wasn't going to launch a new career or get a record deal. And the other guys, however, were a little, I don't know, a little naive, thinking because they're working with me, we're going to make it now. Everybody's going to get we're going to get a record deal. And I knew that would never happen. But I was content just because it was my music. I finally got to go out and play my music in front of local crowds. And that's all I ever really wanted. So being at just a bar level and going out and playing every weekend, I was happier than hell.
Yeah, and listen, the albums sound great, and the thing is, they still sound great today. You made music that didn't sound 1998 or 2001 or whatever. Do you want to revisit that? Do you want to do a Steve Whiteman solo record? Do you have any creative bent to do something?
Funny you should ask. Because we've just been re-releasing, like Blow My Fuse and now Midnite Dynamite. These campaigns have taken up so much time and effort that there hasn't been much talk about a new KIX album. And I've been writing for the past 3 or 4 years. I've accumulated like 12 or 15 songs, and those guys don't seem to be ready to do anything. And I shared it all with those guys, and there didn't seem to be much interest in doing a KIX album. So I'm in the process of recording a record right now, and I hope to have it out by spring. So, if for the KIX fans who want to hear some new music, but it's not going to be KIX, it will just be little old Steve. Hopefully they'll like it and they'll enjoy it.
I am sure they will. So let me ask you then, when you do a KIX record, it has to have a KIX sound. I mean, fans expect Blow My Fuse Part 2 and Cold. When you do your own, do you just go completely left field and give them, ballads and harps and harmonicas? Or do you say, no, I'm a rock singer. Here's a rock album.
I'm still a rock singer, but I have a lot more liberty. I don't have to do that AC/DC grind like KIX is known for. I can slow things down. I can be more melodic. I do it my way. I don't think about KIX, but when you're writing for KIX, there's that vein you have to stay in. So that's a nice liberty to have, to not have to worry about that and just write what you feel.
Yeah, and that's a great place to be. And that, that's the great thing about being, 30, 40 years into your career. You don't have that AOR guy sitting over you going, I need a top 10 hit. I mean, well, in fact, let me ask you about that. There was obviously a pressure when you're with a record company. They're saying, we need this, we need that. Yeah. And when Blow My Fuse breaks up, they go, well, we need a part 2 for the next album. How liberating is it now to be an artist and just be able to go play the shows, do the songs you want, and not have those guys just coming down on you all day long?
It's very liberating, and we don't miss that at all. I don't know. The Atlantic Records was never really hands-on with us. They just kind of left it up to the producers and to the management to kind of sway us their way. And most of the time they left us alone. I don't know if they didn't give a shit or if they thought we were doing things right on our own or what, but they never, other than the second album, they really left us alone after that.
And that second album, it still drives you nuts, I can tell.
It does. It does. We had a lot of good rockin' material to record on that record, and we went down there and they made us do all these outside writers pieces of shit, and we hated it, and we just grinned and bared it. And then when we would leave, after we thought we'd take those shitty songs and rock them out, we would leave the studio and the producer would stick around and he would add keyboards and bring in background singers and just turn it into shit. And we had to put a smile on our face for a year after that and go out and promote that record. That was tough. I'm
looking at it now. You've got Holly Knight writing Burning Love. Now, Holly Knight's, she's great. I mean, but yeah, it's different.
She can't write a KIX song.
Well, that's it. I mean, she writes great Aerosmith songs and other stuff, but it's interesting in that sense. Now, we are in these COVID times, so I'm just going to ask you this one question. You have gone out and done private events, which I've seen on Facebook, and everything seems perfectly fine in terms of socially distance and so on. So we're not calling you out or anything, but what's it like in this environment to go out and play? And and make sure you don't get sick, and make sure that you have a paycheck coming in. And how difficult has it been for you to navigate this new reality?
It's been hell because we've canceled or rescheduled probably 35 dates since March.
Wow.
Since March, we've played a wedding reception. We played a cornfield. We played some guy's house. And we played a drive-in. So it's just been super weird. Can't wait for it to get back to normal, but we don't know what that is or when. So at this point, everybody's just waiting, locked down and waiting. And when we've done those shows, we never felt threatened because, the protocols and the safety precautions were there for us, but we feared the crowds, because the people go there. You can't drink beer with a mask on. It's just impossible. So the masks are down. People are getting, a little hammered, getting a little too close. But luckily, it was a time when the virus was not spreading as bad. But like now, it's so bad. We would never do a show right now.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm not bemoaning that. I turn on my Facebook and I see, hey, KIX live tonight, and I go, where is this coming from? And but it looks interesting. And I forgot my last question. But in terms of the future, where does the band go? Do you just sort of keep doing what you're doing, playing shows and moving forward, or at some point you say, all right, we're going to hang up this nail, hang up our skates, and walk away?
Until I feel I can't do it anymore, as long as I'm doing it at a high level and the people are entertained. And everybody really gets along really well in this band, so we really enjoy it. The travel I hate. I don't miss that at all, but that's part of it. And after almost a year off, I'm sure I won't mind it as much anymore. But we plan to get back out there, and hopefully we won't lose too much in this layoff time. So as long as the people keep coming out and we're able to put on a quality show, there's no reason to stop.
And I'll finish on this. Are you still doing the teaching gig? Because I remember you saying that you were teaching vocals back in the day.
Yeah.
So is that something?
I taught for about 25 years. And when COVID hit is when I stopped. And I haven't been back. And after 25 years, I thought, I think it's time to let that go. Not doing it felt pretty good. But when you're in it and you're doing it, week after week after week, it's just part of your routine. But getting a break from it made me realize that I think I've been doing this long enough and I've had enough.
So, and I'll finish. I promise you, I'll finish on this one.
Okay.
But you when I see you perform at M3, it's still there. The magic's still there. The voice is still there. Is that part of your teaching where you learned how to sing properly and not blow it out?
Yes. Yeah. And learning all the techniques and practicing them with students and sharing it with students and just knowing what you're doing because, you're not always 100% when you're out there performing. So you got to know how to work around that. And having the knowledge that I have through teaching and through research that it got me through a lot of shows when I was not at my best.
Yeah, because there are so many bands where, listen, it's like a football player. At some point when they hit 50, they're not the same football player when they were 20. And nobody ever bemoans a football player for not being as good as they were. But with singers, they're always like, oh, well, oh. But you have to know how to do it, and you do.
Well, I'm not alone. There are a lot of great singers still out there. Sammy Hagar is still killing it. Mick Jagger is still killing it. Robin Zander is still killing it. Alice Cooper is still killing it. So I think those who take care of themselves, who work out, who know how to prepare and how to cool down, and it's just knowledge, and it takes a little discipline. And if you don't have that discipline, then you're not going to be able to last. Yeah,
absolutely. And Steve, as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup. It has been 16 or 17 years since we've done one of these formally. Let's not wait another 15 or 16, please.
I agree.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure. And I hope to get to see you at M3 eventually. Right? Eventually. Yeah. Let's hope it happens. If not in the spring, maybe in the fall, but let's just hope it happens in 2021.
I'm with you.
Merci. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Bye.